video conference between top EU officials and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has yielded little movement on sticking points in post-Brexit relations. Both sides left the talks acknowledging that there had been a show of good faith and a new momentum was required to break the deadlock that's plagued negotiations. But a deadline is fast approaching, after which there can be no extension to the talks. Johnson has previously threatened to walk away if the talks prove to be fruitless.
It's very clear what we need to achieve. I don't think we're actually that far apart, but what we need now is to see a bit of oomph in the negotiations.
Well, let's hear the EU side of things. We can go to Brussels to speak to our correspondent Jack Parrick, who's there for us. Morning, Jack. So we've heard from Boris Johnson. He seems quite optimistic. Does Brussels share that sort of similar enthusiasm for what will be the next round of what they've described as accelerated talks?
Good morning, Rosie. Well, there's been a lot of frustration here in Brussels about the progress on the Brexit talks. Essentially, when the withdrawal agreement was agreed, they had a political declaration on the side of it. And Brussels has said throughout the Brexit negotiations that essentially those promises that came as part of that political declaration should be upheld. The UK government said that they were guidelines, and really this is where the divisions stand so strongly. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, she says there needs to be more momentum. Take a listen to what she had to say after the meetings.
We supported the plans agreed by chief negotiators to intensify the talks in July and to create the most conducive conditions for concluding and ratifying a deal before the end of 2020. This should include, if possible, finding an early understanding on the principles underlying any agreement. We underlined our intention to work hard to deliver a relationship which would work in the interests of the citizens of the Union and of the United Kingdom.
And European Council President Charles Michel, who chairs the meetings of the 27 EU leaders, he tweeted quite a bizarre sentence after the meeting, saying that they want a tiger in the tank, but they won't buy a pig in a poke. That's an old English saying to say they won't buy something without seeing what it is first. And the tiger in the tank is an old petrol company slogan. So there's a little bit of bizarre messaging going on. But essentially the reality is, from the British side and the EU side, is that more compromises need to be made, especially on this idea of the level playing field, ensuring that state aid in Britain isn't given to companies so that they can undercut companies in the European Union. There's a long slog until the end of the year, Rosie, to get a deal done.
And as you said, some very unclear messaging as well. Thank you very much, Jack, our correspondent there in Brussels.